You're listening to Home Sellers Advantage. I'm your host, Aaron Zapata.
And I'm your other host, Todd Anderson. We are the Bald Brothers team at Impact Realty Group with Real Broker, and we are here to give you the Home Sellers Advantage.
You can find us online at www.baldbrothers.tv. Again, that's baldbrothers.tv.
Or you can call us at 833-305-BALD. That's 833-305-2253.
All right. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Welcome back, Todd.
We are at the beginning of 2026. We are. We had a little bit of a break, you and I.
Yep, it was nice.
It's not often we get to do that, but It was nice to have some time with our family. And now we have hit the ground running in 2026. Literally the second day of the year, we closed an escrow.
Yes. First business day.
First business day, that's right.
We closed a deal, and then we took a listing the third day or shortly after that. So we are moving right along this year, and we thought we would just come here and talk with you about the real estate market. 2026, there's a lot that has developed since the last time we posted. We have Trump announcements about the $200 billion purchase of mortgage-backed securities.
Yeah,
that
that's a big deal.
Big deal, right?
Huge deal, yeah.
And then we have a lot of momentum. And so we wanted to just kind of break down some of our thoughts on how we think this year is going to be different than the last couple of years. And so let's start with our own coming inventory.
Okay.
This is a big deal. In the past, we've had maybe five.
Just a small handful coming into the new year. Typically the way, and this is actually pretty traditional to the standard real estate market. Normally, as you come into January, you might have a few listings. And then as more and more people start to warm up, literally, as the weather gets warmer, people warm up to the idea of selling their homes. Once you're in the summer, you're in full-scale swing of the market, and then things start to die off as you get down towards Thanksgiving, Christmas, and back into the new year. And so you kind of have this curve where things kind of ramp up. This year, our inventory, we have a lot of inventory coming immediately that we know within the next couple of months that we already know about. So that, for us, is an indicator that it's probably going to be a busier year. Now, at the end of last year, we were looking at this year as probably being something that's fairly normalized, but some of these things have changed, which gives us an indication that there might be some more activity. One of the things to consider is simply the fact that the distance between the interest rate hikes for mortgages has grown longer. And the further away you get from transitions in the market, the more you start to get people coming back to the market, people choosing to sell, buyers coming back to the market, that sort of thing. Immediately when there's a change, everything kind of slows down, which we saw in 2022. But then as you get further from that change, you start to see people coming back to activity.
You know, I was at a breakfast on Saturday morning, and I was talking about how the market has transitioned. And in the middle of COVID, we had these incredibly low rates. And property values basically doubled all over the country.
Skyrocketed.
Right?
They shot up.
And I remember being in escrow with buyers, and we represent mostly sellers, so we had buyers purchasing these homes, and we had a number of them fall out simply for the fact that mom and dad chimed in with their opinion and said, that's too much. You can't pay that much for a house. And they weren't concerned about the payment. They were just worried about the price appreciation and how fast it was going up. And we would hear the stories of, when I bought my first house, it was $182,000. And all we heard about was price. It's too expensive. You can't buy. And so we had buyers that backed out. We had deals that were lost because of that. And those same parents, and I was telling this to a group of older gentlemen, and all of them were nodding their head in agreement, like they've also seen this pattern. And I said, but now what's happening is those same parents are writing large checks to keep their kids local here in Orange County.
Yeah, they want to keep them.
They want to keep them local. And those are the same parents that said, you can't buy, prices are too expensive. Now
they don't want their grandkids moving away.
Prices haven't dropped.
Yeah.
And payments have doubled.
Exactly.
And they're like, we gave you bad advice. And now we don't hear anything about price. Now we hear, well, when I bought my first house, interest rates were 17%, 12%, 11%. The 7%, the 6%, ain't so bad. And now they're
not so bad. Yeah.
They've come full circle, and now they're writing big checks just to keep their kids here. So if you're wondering, how in the world do these buyers afford to live here? That is a portion of it. But that's not the whole story. The whole story is that this year is going into the fourth year since the interest rate hike. And there is good research to show that many of our homeowners that are thinking about upsizing already have higher interest rates on their mortgages because they bought at the end of 2022, they bought at 2023, maybe even in 2024. And now they're in the house 3-4 years, and they're like,
time to move.
Or
you know what? Hey, we just got pregnant. We've got 2 more kids. We got twins on the way. The house is too small.
Let's go triplets.
There we go. We got to move. And other things that we see that have changes that you may have refinanced at a good interest rate, but then perhaps unfortunately there was a divorce. And you have to then go ahead and refinance to buy one party out, and now you're at a higher interest rate. There's lots of different things that can happen over the period of 4 years in a family's life that will require them to have to choose to sell and or purchase.
And so this year we're expecting more of those traditional local moves to hit the market. We have not seen that in 4 years. And so we're excited about that. We started to see it at the end of last year.
We did.
We saw a lot of people sell locally and buy locally, and we're like, yes, the market's back.
And so that's one thing that Aaron and I were already kind of postulating would be something to look forward to in 2026 in the real estate market. But Aaron, I'd like you to chime in on this. The purchase of mortgage-backed securities is a new development. So how will that potentially affect the real estate market?
If you go back and you listen to some of our podcasts in the past, Todd and I say there's 2 things that would be necessary for interest rates to drop. And one would be like a national disaster, something like COVID again, something like that's just out of control, right? We haven't seen that.
That requires some sort of interference or intervention.
Intervention on behalf of the government. And the other thing was if our government started buying mortgage-backed securities. And we are now at that point where it's been announced that Trump says, hey, let's buy $200 billion worth of mortgage-backed securities. And here's what that means in layman's terms. Those rates can now be lowered because our government is not as sensitive to interest rates when they're buying those mortgage-backed securities. They're not concerned that they stay at 6 and 7% like Wall Street is. And so they're able to buy them without concern as the total investment return. And so when that happens, they step in, and banks then are like, oh, here we are again. Government's willing to buy that loan at 5.5%. Government's willing to buy that loan at 5.25% or whatever it goes down to. And if they open that door up and say, hey, here's our money bags, we're
sell more of them.
We're going to buy loans. The banks will be like, yes, let's drop that rate. Let's get an influx of buyers and let's sell those loans to the government. And we're there. They announced it. And in fact, like within a couple of days of the announcement, we saw rates drop in some cases 0.5%. And so I think it'll balance out. I think that was a knee-jerk reaction. Like those that locked in their rates that day are going to be like, yes, we did it. But I think we're going to see this lower interest rates, which, guess what? Increases the amount of homes that can go on the market and be sold because those sellers that have the 3% rate may now be able to qualify for the new rate.
Exactly. Now, even if they're going to have a new rate that's a little bit higher, the difference might be worth it for them to go ahead and make that change. And of course, conversely, you have more buyers that are now saying, hey, you know what? Let's go ahead and let's jump in. And even just there's a psychological element to that. Just the knowledge of that creates a psychology that, hey, I think I'm ready to come back into the market. Have you ever been in this position where you see something on television, you're not interested at all in buying it, And the more you see it, the more you start to think about the fact that I might be interested in buying this. And then you start researching it. And the more you research it, the more you're all in and you're ready to buy. And that's just kind of the psyche. That's the psychological aspect of consumerism. Well, the same thing happens when it comes to exactly the same thing happens in the real estate market. Yeah. And so the more you start thinking of this as being a potential, I wasn't open to buying property before, but now I see it as a potential, and now I'm going to start to look into it more. The more you look into it, the more you're likely to jump forward, and that is good for sellers. If you want to sell your home, there's going to be potentially more buyers out there for you.
Yeah, exactly. So in fact, thinking of sellers, kind of going back to that thought at the beginning of our podcast today, is that Todd and I typically have anywhere from 7 to 11, kind of on average, coming into the beginning of the year of sellers that we've talked to that we think are going to be doing something in the first quarter. We just looked at our notes right before we started today's podcast, and we have 16 on that list.
I actually counted 28 total.
What?
Maybe we're looking at different lists.
No, we're talking about the ones that aren't yet active, but we have those.
Oh, okay, yeah,
we have those that we pulled off and they're going right back. So yeah, we have more, but those are like not yet disclosed to the public. But Todd and I are working with them in order to bring those properties to market.
Yeah.
And so we know that, guys, there's a lot of inventory coming this year. And if you're a seller, you need to know what this means. Ultimately, it means that if there's more competition for your home, that prices will be pretty stable compared to where they were last year. We're not profits. We're not guaranteeing this. Past performance does not guarantee future performance.
It also,
all that.
It also
stuff,
it
right?
depends on your market, your location. There's a lot of things that factor into it.
It does, and so we do think prices will be pretty stable this year, unless rates drop to 4%, which would be crazy. But I don't think that's going to happen. And so what we're saying is now is a good time to start thinking about selling if you're thinking about selling at all in the next couple of years.
That's right.
Because if we're into a stable market, then, it's okay. Like, don't wait for the perfect time to sell your home. Let's put it on the market. Let's get going. And the market will dictate the value.
That's right.
It will. Like it does all the time.
Yeah, always does. So, hey, I'll tell you something else that's big what's on everybody's mind going into 2026. Well, I'll say what's on everybody's mind going into 2026 is, what about AI, artificial intelligence? And I hear more and more about that. And have you noticed that when you watch things online, you can no longer assume it's real because oftentimes they are AI generated.
You have to go do research.
You got to research, is this legitimate? So how does that affect the real estate market? Hey, I'll just hire a computer to sell my home.
Do that.
Are we going to be there?
Fantastic. Have fun. Are we there yet? No.
No, I don't think we'll ever be there.
Well, we are, the Bald Brothers team, integrating AI into our back office processes to help us streamline and become more efficient and better at what we do. And so we're definitely using AI. And I think realtors that use AI will definitely have a competitive advantage over those that don't.
Yeah.
Because we can do some amazing amount of research. We can create marketing plans specific to an identified avatar like buyer for your property. And so we have that ability to shorten the research time to extrapolate data and to create much more effective marketing campaigns. So it's definitely going to affect us. But you know what I'm interested in most for our home sellers is how accurate are those online estimates? And it always comes back to that. Like the one singular question is, how much is my house worth?
Yeah.
Well, Zillow says it's worth this. Go back and watch our Zillow estimate program.
We did a whole program on how those consumer-based websites do their estimates. Yeah.
Go watch that. But that's all artificial intelligence. That is using algorithms and mathematical equations to try to figure out, what the value of this home is really worth. Now, we want to say this. AI is helping us do our business. It does not replace actual experience and wisdom.
That's right.
I spoke to a group today at lunchtime, and I said, the younger buyers, the younger people in our generation, they have access to more information than we've ever had access to. They can go to ChatGPT, and they can just look up everything that they wanted to learn. But the one thing they don't have is wisdom associated with the information.
That's right.
And so when you're looking at this transaction of selling your home, you definitely want somebody that can interpret the information and put it to good use in direct connection with your property.
That's right.
When we go look at a property, we take into condition the location, and then we also look at the condition. We look at neighboring properties, and we look at the history of sales. You might have a beautiful home, but if it's next to a homeless encampment, or right, it's not going to sell for as much as the house that's not next to that. So we have to take into consideration all these factors that no AI algorithm can do.
That's right.
So AI is going to affect how we do it, but it's not going to change the market dramatically. It's not going to, suddenly make your property worth a lot more because you said so on ChatGPT, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So AI.
So
artificial intelligence. We have AAI.
What's that?
It's Aaron intelligence. Sorry. For those of you
that was really bad.
That was bad.
I walked right into it.
He did. Aaron. So we could take the A and the two last letters of
my name. Yeah, Anderson.
ADD.
There we go.
We could be, ADHD maybe.
I think we're
digressing.
I think we're off the rails here.
Anyways, if you're thinking about selling a property in 2026, we just want you to know that there are factors that are changing the nature of the market almost on a weekly basis. Nothing dramatic so far this year. We don't expect anything dramatic, but we do expect that this will be a very good year. In fact, I was on the phone with one of our coming sellers, and I just told him, I says, I think we're in a good year for a lot of win-wins for both sellers and buyers. I think there's going to be a lot of happy sellers and happy buyers.
Yeah.
It's not going to be so out of whack that a seller's like, I paid too much, and the seller's going to be like, I didn't get enough. It's going to be like, you know what? It's a fair price, fair competition. We negotiated a lot of different things along the way, and everybody's kind of moderately happy. And I think we're in process.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
I'm glad you do.
So hey,
if you ever disagreed with me, would you tell us on this show?
I just very quickly turn everything off, and then I'd tell you.
Oh, you were like, stop, cut the tape. Todd, Aaron, you got to stop. Great.
Yeah, so we're off to the races, and we'll see 11, 12 months from now. Maybe we'll do a show and review this and see how accurate we were.
Yeah, maybe not.
Hey, if we weren't accurate, we'll just forget this episode ever.
Forget it. But you know what we do, Todd?
We sell homes.
That's right. And if you are thinking about selling your home, we would love the opportunity to talk to you about the process and to see if we're a good fit for you as you look at selling that real estate this year. God bless you. Until next time. I just said that backwards. And until next time, God bless you.
Very good.
Thanks for listening to the Home Sellers Advantage. The Bald Brothers team is a licensed DBA of Real Broker, licensed by the California Department of Real Estate, number 02022-092. Again, we do not give any real estate, legal, or financial advice. If you'd like to reach out to us, you can call us at 833-305-BALD, or you can reach us online at baldbrothers.tv. Equal housing opportunity.